want answers?
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended the Shaolin Temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical Rant.
All right, kudos to our marijuana moms out there. January Thomas, Cheryl Shuman, the moms for marijuana that I've met. You know, Lindsay and Lori, Lindsay Reinhart, Lori Duckworth, great people out there who are continuing on their work as activists, even in the face of being moms and being judged for their cannabis activism. We've done many stories here on the Russ Belville Show about child protective services, about people who get caught up in the law enforcement of the drug war, get caught growing plants or in possession, and they have their children taken away from them. And that's just the most horrifying thing a mother can imagine, is to have, their children taken away and placed with strangers. It's more trauma on the child than anything the marijuana could have ever caused. And that's why I'm so proud of these women who are standing up and providing providing role models and providing an image to the general public. For those of us who are in the movement and we see videos like this, it's not shocking. It's not strange. It's our everyday existence. We know these people. We work with these people. These mothers, these parents that are working so hard and are such good parents by and large. But, when you see these things, try and watch them from the perspective of the 87% of the American people who don't smoke pot regularly and the people who don't really know much about the movement. Their stereotypes and their fears of what about the children are born upon scaremongering that goes back to Reagan, goes back to Nixon, of, welfare moms and abuse and crack babies and all these scary things. And whenever you're talking about children, you can just disconnect the logic circuits in a parent's brain. They can't help it. It's the way our DNA is wired to protect our children. Any perceived threat to them is something we react emotionally to. So these images were so effective throughout the 80s, the crack baby scare and, all these terrible things, which, by the way, were never borne out. There's no statistics to show, there's no science to show that the children born of women who were addicted to crack cocaine had any worse outcomes than any other children. It was a myth. It was a scare story. So these women, January and Cheryl and Lori and Lindsay and so many others who are taking a stand, Jennifer out there in Portland, Jennifer Alexander, who are taking a stand and putting that risk out there, often get criticized from other mothers. How could you risk your children by being an activist? How could you risk your children by using marijuana? And they're just so brave to stand up and say, no, I have to do this to make the world better for my children. God forbid any of their children got cancer or any of their children had a spasticity disorder or something that desperately needed the treatment of cannabis, like our little brave Michaela, like little Alex Eccles. These options should be available to all parents. And so these women who are standing up and fighting and making a new image, coming up with a new, classy, respectable image. For a long time in this movement, we've had a treat marijuana like alcohol. Marijuana is safer than alcohol. Treat marijuana like alcohol, which is a step forward. But I think now the step these women are taking is more like treat marijuana like wine. See, framing is something I think a lot about, and think of the framing of wine versus alcohol, right? When I said the word alcohol, what did you think? You didn't think of a can of beer. Probably not. You probably didn't think of a glass of wine. You probably thought of alcohol, bottles, shots, whiskey, tequila, liquor. That, when you say alcohol, that's what's triggered in a person's mind. Now, when I say the word wine, people's trigger for wine, people's framing and the other items they will think of will be tending along the lines of vineyards and parties and dinner and celebration. Maybe wino, But I don't think most people attribute, $2 Chuck or, Mad Dog 2020 as wine. That's when the frame of wine is bottles and sophistication and luxury and opulence and celebration. These are the things that are tied in with wine. And so I think a campaign that's treat marijuana like wine is something that is going to benefit us. And especially when we're talking about women, especially when we're talking about the get-togethers where, I know many women who will get together with their sisters or their friends over a bottle of wine and talk and laugh and have a good time. And that, I believe, is something that will kind of flip the switch for a lot of women. When they see that the use of marijuana is not a dirty, grubby joint, but a chicken salad, and some nice vapor. I mean, these kind of things can change minds. I remember when my ex-wife got a hold of one of I think it was a Cloud Vape pen, one of these vape pens, and the switch flipped for her. I could see her say, now this is something I would use. This looks like some lipstick case or whatever the hell, mascara case. This looks like something I would use. This looks sophisticated. This doesn't look like stoner. And I was just so proud of, and that's the direction we needed to take this. It's happening with the oil culture. There's still folks that like their torches and their rigs and dabbing and all that, but older folks that kind of like the dabs, like the concentrates, are starting to gravitate more to these canna cigs and cloud vapes and vape pens and G pens and all these different types of devices because it has a sophistication to it. It's less dirty. It's less crack torchy. It's less hassle. Also, a little easier to keep concealed in some of these states where you don't want folks to necessarily know what you're up to. So kudos to January and Cheryl Shuman for making this a new dawn, a new time of now, where I think we're at the tipping point now where we can show that there's a lot of good in marijuana, and not just the easy out of industrial hemp and what good it is, and not just the easy out of medical marijuana, which is obviously good. But now we can just start talking about marijuana as just a social thing, as just another choice for adults who wish to gather together and have fun. But of course, the tendency is away from that from our legislators. And in Denver and in Colorado, they want to try to shut down the social clubs. Washington State's looking at ways of doing that. It's almost as if they want marijuana legalization, but only if you're smoking all by yourself in your basement. That's what we have been doing, and we're tired of doing it. With legalization comes rights and responsibilities. And I believe if we do this the responsible way, we can show a nice, wholesome, professional, respectful, successful sort of vision for cannabis consumers. And if we do this right, we can turn a whole new chapter here in this legalization battle. We can go from playing defense all the time to playing offense now. We can start talking about the good that can come, not just in our economy and the jobs and the ending of misdirected police resources, but just the societal good of having places where people can gather for using marijuana, something safer than the wine or the alcohol or the beer, places where people can feel good and safe and have a good time and not contribute to more drunk driving deaths and more of the problems that we have from the other substances. It's good times coming, and we're glad that you're here with us here on 420radio.org and the Russ Belville Show. It's been a lot of fun talking to you here. I'm still in Scottsdale, Arizona, making it happen here in the Margarita Studios at the Three Palms Hotel in beautiful Scottsdale, where it's hot as hell outside. Stay tuned. We're going to go into Hour 2, Toker Talk Radio. And by the way, I got note that our phone line wasn't working. It is now. It's all taken care of. So 971-533-7111 if you want to call in. Had to switch a card. One card wasn't working, so we switched the card, but it's working now. For Brian the Red, I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us here in hot Arizona and rainy Portland, Oregon. Until next time, take care of each other, tokers.